Hi, I'm Matt Welch. I'm with my co-author Nick Gillespie of the Declaration of Independence, How Libertarian Politics Can Fix What's Wrong with America. That is supposed to come out June 28th, but we've seen it in stores around town. We're here on Ask a Libertarian Day to talk about the book and the ideas in it. And the next question comes from David Atkin. That's correct. And we've had a lot like this. As a longtime party member, I presume this is the Libertarian Party that he's discussing, I've felt that libertarians have never been able to articulate a foreign policy position that did not come across as extremely isolationist and out of touch with reality, to the point that some libertarians believe that we wouldn't even have embassies and diplomats. Do they think the president is going to handle all of this by himself, Nick?
Well, unfortunately, the president has most recently taken foreign policy on all by himself with the invasion of Libya, which I don't think it's isolationist to say that that is a really stupid idea. And the days, not weeks, have now turned into months, and I suspect it'll be half years and years going down the road. I do think, waving aside the question about embassies and things like that, most libertarians I know are not isolationists, they are non-interventionists. They understand that, generally speaking, military intervention accomplishes far less than what we think it does. I think that there are better types of engagement that come through cultural, open and massive cultural exchange, probably first and foremost an economic exchange. But there is definitely a role for military intervention. I think that United States participation in World War II was absolutely called for. I think once you get away from that in the 20th century, it does become harder to justify. But when there are actual national interests at risk, when there is a clear mission that is articulated and signed off on by Congress, not simply by one or two people in the American government, I think the military, it makes sense to have one and it makes sense to use one in those rare but important circumstances.
One of the basic principles of libertarianism is non-coercion or non-interventionism. The idea is that you're not going to try to force someone to do something that you want them to do in general. That and a notion of self-defense. Someone punches you in the face, you might want to punch them back and have an organized process for doing that. I think that is sort of the bedrock from which that debate within the Libertarian Party or among libertarians springs. There are some who are completely anti-interventionist in every case and don't even want to talk about bad things happening in foreign countries because that is a prelude somehow to having a hyper-intervention. Either way, I think we have a moment right now where there's a long overdue critique in American politics where we're way overextended. It has come to a very ridiculous point where the world turns to America for everything, especially when it's time to shoot a gun or suppress someone that we don't like. And that needs to come back. We can't afford it. It's breeding a flagrant irresponsibility among everybody else, and we have to change that system.
Yeah, I think it's also worth pointing out that we can't afford it economically. We pay, 6 times more than the second largest country in terms of defense dollars, which is China. But we can't afford it economically. It's bankrupting us, but it's also bankrupting us morally, because if we become the world's policeman, it means that we're patrolling every fruit stand around the globe, and we get into a lot of really sticky situations as opposed to holding our powder for the places where we need to be. Other countries should be shouldering their burdens, particularly when it comes to regional conflicts. There's no reason that Japan and China can't be handling North Korea, for instance.